Hello, everyone. Welcome to our live streaming Year of Forgiveness. I'm Tina Spalding, as most of you know. This is Ken Berenson, who helps the live streaming and works together with me to bring these conversations to you. I had been asked a question actually via email. So I'm going to spring that on you, Ken. We didn't have time to talk about it before we got together, but somebody asked about the laws of creation that they keep mentioning. So I think we'll ask Jesus to clarify what they mean by the laws of creation, because they do use that phrase a lot, and I think people perhaps could use some more in-depth clarification of what they are referring to with that. So maybe that will be our first question, and then we can go to the voted questions after.
Sounds good.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to bring Jesus through first, and we'll ask him about the laws of creation. But as you know, as many of you know, sometimes they tell us whatever they want to know, and then get to the questions. So we'll see what he says. I'll see you in a bit. You are here on purpose. I am that one that you know as Jesus. And as we tell you every time that we have these communications, we are very, very happy that you are here to learn, to expand, and to raise your frequency. That is what these communications are for, whether we are writing them through this being and it is being converted into a book, whether we are doing a public video, whether we're doing a private reading, or whether we are doing these communications with you. Every time the purpose is to raise your frequency. And that is what we want you to understand as you go further and further into your studies, that raising your frequency is your project. Everything that we teach you to do, everything that the lessons of A Course in Miracles are directing you to do is raising your frequency. What does that mean? What does raising your frequency mean? Well, raising your frequency is getting yourself in alignment with the frequency of the laws of creation. That is really what we are teaching here. So what are the laws of creation? The laws of creation refer to the fact that you are going to invite to you, like a giant magnet, you are inviting to you experiences, people, places, and things of like frequency. So if you are depressed and sad and angry, you are going to attract experiences, people, places, and things of that frequency. Whether you want them or not, you are going to attract them to you. So one of the basic laws of creation is that you will experience people, places, and things and experiences that match you. So if you are presenting a fashionable, happy, innocent, smiling face, but inside you hate your neighbors, you judge yourself, you're manipulating or trying to control situations to get what you want, that is what is going to be reflected back to you. And that is why your life is such a beautiful lesson for you. And that is why acceptance of that beautiful lesson is the first step in your consciousness evolution. So many beings, when we tell them to accept what is, get very distraught and say, but I don't want what's happening. But we have to tell you, yes, you do. What is happening is showing you your frequency. So you do want it. You want to be able to observe it and say, I like what's happening here, but I don't like what's happening here. If this is my work life, for example, and I don't like what's happening here, what am I doing here that's not like the part of my life that is giving me what I want? So let us say you have a very productive and enjoyable and creative life. Let's say you are an artist of some kind, a musician perhaps. Let us say when you look at your creative life, You are very happy. You're involved with people you like. You're excited. You go for your practice jam sessions with your friends, and everything is going really well. Everything you experience in that part of your life is feeling good to you. But when you go to your work life, perhaps the first thing you do is get up and say, I hate this job. I don't want to go to this place. It's the exact opposite of what you are saying when you go to your jam session with your friends. So if you understand the laws of creation, which is that you're attracting and manifesting exactly what's in accord with your frequency, you can see that, I bring enthusiasm, passion, joy, camaraderie, community to my music practice, but I'm bringing depression, anger, frustration to my work life. Of course, I am not going to manifest the same experience. So the contrast is a beautiful opportunity for you to see where you have differing frequencies at play in the creative process. This is one of the laws of creation, that your most basic law of creation is that you are going to bring to you an experience that is like the frequency you are emitting. Now, it sounds as if your creative work and your work are delineated by a rigid wall in that description. That is not totally the case. But what you can see is that in that general area of your life, you're bringing a much more optimistic, much more happy and loving frequency to play, to bear on that particular part of your life. Now, many of you will say, well, of course, playing music is fun, going to work sucks, as you say in your society. We want to say that we use our dear one's vocabulary, and there are some of you that would say that Jesus would not use that word. Well, we are using the vocabulary of this modern being, and sometimes we do use words such as that to bring a smile to your face so that you do not take all this too seriously, which of course is one of the things that people tend to do. With spiritual study, it becomes very serious, very dour, very pain-ridden and suffering saturated. And we are trying to bring a little lightness to it, even though it may ruffle a few of your feathers to hear us use that phrase. Okay, so despite that sidebar that we just took, we want you to know that we do want you to do work that you love, and that is one of course one of your society's indoctrinations, that work should be no fun and that it causes a great deal of suffering, but you grin and bear it, is one of the phrases that you might use. And of course now you are learning that to grin and bear it is not in your favor, even though you may pay a few more months' bills with that kind of attitude. What you come to understand is that if you're holding a low frequency because you do not like your work, that is going to manifest in other forms in front of you for you to see, so that you can learn that your work frequency is too low. So the laws of creation are quite simple. The laws of creation are such that when you are in accord with the frequency of creation, which is love, then you are going to have a much smoother ride of things. Now, there are beings that are concerned about many other laws, but right now, for most of you, that is enough for you to deal with, that you are emitting a frequency and you will be matched and reflected by the universe so that you may know where you are off track. What this does, this one understanding of this one law, it tells you that to accept what you're seeing, to accept the manifestations, even if it is, let us say, something like a twisted ankle where you are laid up for a couple of days with bandages on your ankle, you may ask yourself, what was I doing in that situation? What was my state of mind when I twisted my ankle? It's an injury. It's a second chakra location. So your body has all of these energy centers that create your body. You're not taught that. You're taught that your body creates your energy, but the opposite is indeed true. The ankle is a second chakra representation, if you will, or the second chakra is responsible for creating that part of the body. That means it has to do with sexuality. It has to do with movement. fluidity, your ability to dance and to connect with your own vital life force, which you often call sexual energy, but that second chakra is where that vital life force is generated and creates the body. So if you twist your ankle, for example, you may be getting a message from the universe that you are not comfortable moving, that you're not comfortable in that second chakra energy center. And that is the kind of contemplation we would suggest all of you make whenever you have a physical demonstration of an energy block. And this is how we would like you to look at illness. We would like you to begin to see that there is a frequency of love that you are made from. That is your home. That is where you are being generated from. Literally, you are not being generated from this place. Your home is connected to you here, like the story of the mothership that Ananda has told you before. Your body is like an exploratory vehicle that has gone down onto the planet's surface and is connected to the mothership. It has information and energy systems that are being generated from there. You are not alone. And that is one of the great illusions of this place. You are not alone. You are being given information all the time, but most of that spiritual information, we will use that word because you understand what we mean, is coming from within you. You have an external demonstration of your creative abilities and your focuses and your frequency, and you have an internal connection to the mothership, to spirit, to your higher self, to your oversoul, to God, if you will. You can use any of these words, whatever one makes you the happiest, you can use. Spirit is never offended by the word you use. Only your religious people are offended by the words you use. Spirit does not care. We are not even listening to the words. We are listening to your frequency, and that is what we want you to keep focused on, your frequency. How happy am I feeling? How at ease am I? How healthy do I feel? How energized am I? How creative do I feel? How compassionate do I feel? How joyful do I feel? If your answer to these things is, I am not joyful at all, then you know that your frequency is lower than it should be. Now, some of you get very upset with yourselves when you feel down or when you get angry or triggered or frustrated. But what we want you to know is that this is your guidance system saying, you might want to take a look here. What are you doing here? What are you thinking here? What are you saying to yourself here? Whatever's going on within you is out of accord with love. Either it's unloving to yourself, so self-loathing thoughts and ideas are going to bring this negative emotion up, or you may be judging somebody else's behavior and saying they shouldn't be doing that, when most of you, and we want you to hear this, what other people are doing really is none of your business. Your business is your behavior. How are you behaving? And this is really the toughest part of mastering this particular law of creation. Your job is to ask yourself, can I be more loving? Can I be more authentic with myself? Am I being truthful with myself? Am I being honest with those beings around me that I care for? Am I focused on kindness to myself and others? And this, again, is one of those difficult aspects of your society, because what has been done with my teachings is you have been told to care for others at your own expense. And this is the idea of suffering and martyrdom. And that is not what I taught when I was on the earth plane so many years ago. And it is not what I'm teaching now. You must first come to respect yourself. You must first come to love yourself. You must first come to honor yourself. And in that self-respect, honoring and loving, you will raise your frequency quite considerably. This is where many people in the Western world are at a detriment. They do not love themselves enough. They do not honor themselves enough. And they are too busy pleasing other people to get something so that their fears or their worries can be quelled a little bit. And this is a a long conversation, and we will not carry on the whole in-depth conversation in this answer. But for many of you, you have deep-seated fears, deep-seated lacks, deep-seated confusions, and you seek to resolve those things by getting from other people. The practice of the lessons of A Course in Miracles is to turn your attention inside so that you can see where you are doing that, so that you can see where you are fearful and yet you are placing a smile on your face so that you can get something. You are angry, but you are pretending to be okay because you're concerned about losing something. So many of these things are the self-deceptions and deceptions of others that are the true frequency below the social face. And this is the most important law of creation that you must understand before we go into many others. This is, we will say for most of you, this is a lifetime's work, to understand when your feelings are off-center, causing you to feel distress, and being able to learn the correct interpretation of that guidance. But the first thing is, when you begin to feel bad, stop what you're doing and ask yourself, what am I thinking here? What's going on the inside of me, not what's going on the outside of me? Because many of you act out of accord with your feelings, and so you can see that you're behaving in a socially acceptable way on the outside, but on the inside there may be a great storm brewing, there may be a great upset brewing. The training of the lessons, the training of the going inside brings you into a honest dialogue with that heart, mind, spirit of you. And that is where everything begins. You are the projector. You are the creator of your external experience by this internal journey that you are going on. And that is why the Western world has so many challenges, because you are taught the second you feel a little uncomfortable, you are taught to go on your cell phone, go for a drive, go to the store, go to a movie, go to a restaurant. These are the ways you cover up the distresses of your heart and spirit, and you are deeply indoctrinated into action. The Eastern philosophies, and these were brought to the shores of your countries over the last 100 years or so, these Eastern philosophies were brought to the West to balance that intense, action-focused mandate that we will say North America and the modern Western world now have, to balance the external experience of your life, which is why you came here, to have some experiences. But if you don't understand what's going on inside, if you don't contemplate how you feel and the thoughts that you are entertaining every minute of every day, you are not going to be able to master the material world. And you are all capable of doing what I did and mastering the material world. But you have systems of teaching and training that have for thousands of years told you the opposite. That is why you struggle so with the idea of looking after yourself, of honoring yourself, of being authentic, telling those you love exactly how you feel and what you want, because many of you have relationships that are built on deception, and it is terrifying for you to imagine being honest, because you think, well, if I'm honest, finally, this relationship or this family or this business is going to fail. So we do counsel you always, and consistently so, to do the lessons of A Course in Miracles and to gradually become more familiar with the inner workings of your heart and your mind and the messages that are constantly coming from spirit to you through your inner guidance system. So the laws of creation are this: you reap what you sow, you get what you give, and to receive is as wonderful as to give. So sometimes in your society, some of you will say, no, I don't need that. If somebody perhaps offers you some money to contribute to a dinner or to buy you a little gift because they saw something that you like, allow those small, generous gifts to come to you with grace and with an open heart. because in that receiving, you allow the other person to experience the joy of giving. So sometimes in your very independent, focused society, you are trained to say no to some things that you should say yes to. And that is a very, very good thing to understand, because in refusing to allow somebody else to give, you shut off their energy. Many people have a very, very strong guidance to offer you things, to connect with you, to share with you. This is love extending itself. And if you say no, thank you for offering, but no, you literally prevent the love coming to you that you have been asking the universe to give you. So these are some of the technicalities that can show up when you are learning to interpret the feedback that you are getting from the world. But all of the lessons of A Course in Miracles are designed specifically and strategically to lead you into your consciousness, to show you your angers, to show you your fears and frustrations, to lead you towards a more loving self-concept and a more loving concept of others. But then you must practice them. Then you must say, I am upset today. What did I just do? I broke the law that this lesson is pushing me towards developing and mastering. And this is what the lessons of A Course in Miracles are giving you. They are giving you the directive to focus your mind on, for example, that you are not a body, you are free. How many of you during the day remind yourself, even if you have done the lesson, that you are a body? You keep telling yourself you're a body. So you may have done the lesson for a few days, but repeatedly after you've studied the Course in Miracles, you are now saying, oh no, I am a body, I am a body, I am a body. And so that lesson is no longer being practiced. You are practicing the opposite of that lesson. And so you are bringing your frequency down again. So for those of you that have completed the lessons, remember to continue practicing them. For those of you that are resisting the lessons, understand that this is the fastest way to transform your mind into a higher frequency where you are connected to the positive aspects of the laws of creation, which mean you are going to get back in reflection the frequency that you are holding. And for those of you that are knee deep in these lessons, keep going. Do not let the confusion or struggle or inability to really understand what's happening stop you. You are learning a new way of being. You are learning how to function sanely in your experience of separation. Most of you are functioning insanely in your experience of separation, and you are confused and you wonder why you ever would have chosen this experience, because it is no fun. It is only because you have been taken too far away from love in your training programs in this society. And we are bringing you back. Yes, you are still in separation, but you are going to be learning more and more. When I step away from love, I feel bad. When I step towards it, I feel good. These are baby steps in the beginnings of the lessons, and you will get confused because we are asking you literally to change your personality, not in the way that is a cultish way. And of course, this is a fear that many beings have when they realize that we are transforming your mind. But we want to remind you, your personality has been created by commercial television, by your religions, by your teachers, by your parents. You think you are a certain personality, but as you go through this healing process, you will realize that your anger is falling away. You aren't an angry person. Your judgments are falling away. You're not a judgmental person, and you thought these were parts of your personality, and they are not parts of your personality. They are teachings that have been indoctrinated into your consciousness by unloving concepts and ideas. The people were not loving. Many of the people that trained you had the best of intentions, but they taught you what their parents taught them or their church taught them, which was fear. So we are changing your personality, but the only thing that will go will be your fears, your judgments, your hatreds, your desire to attack, all of these things that destroy relationships and cause problems in your society. That is all that is going to go. And what will be left will be the unique you that you designed before you were born, so that you could have a unique, creative, singular experience that will help enlighten you and help the planet. So we want you to know once again that we are so happy that you are with us in this conversation today. We remind you once again that whenever you come to us collectively in this real-time moment, that means that there are many of you connected, focused, attending at the same time all around the planet. You are loving this planet up in a way that is very, very powerful. Collective events are very, very powerful. So thank you for joining us, and we will speak to you again in a few minutes.
Cool. Awesome. I really like the thing that they said about receiving, because
oh yes,
yeah, I can relate to that so much, that I'm certain things that I think I don't need, or it's just like a silly thing or something like that, I say no to. And this last time was actually from a little girl that made me and my partner a little tiny purse, which was beautiful. But she kind of gave it to me, and I thought, oh, you should give that to my partner instead, because she wasn't there. So I gave it back to her, so that, you know, I thought that was a good thing, right? But I'm actually saying no to the universe by doing that, which is quite interesting.
Well, and I guess if she was inspired to give it to you,
yeah,
so there was some little love exchange going on there.
Yeah, exactly.
You brute. You're a brute.
What does that mean? Brute.
A brute is a tough guy.
All right. Okay.
You said no to the purse.
Yeah.
Was it because it was a purse?
I think well, a little bit, but also a little bit that I thought my partner would be more happy for it or something, you know?
Oh, okay.
Because it's, yeah, I guess because it's a purse. Yeah, I guess.
Mm.
Yeah.
We live and learn.
We live and learn. Yeah, it's so nice, but it's so nice to see, because then you can see it in a different way. You don't see it as a purse. You see it as, oh, the universe is trying to open me up for receiving. And if you look at it like that, it doesn't matter what it is.
Doesn't matter. No, it can be a little flower somebody picked up. Yeah.
It's nice to get a reminder of that. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay, so
first question.
Yeah, let's do the first voted up question.
Yeah. So this is from Susan. Hi everyone, Susan Wheeler here. I was told recently by a psychic who is also a Course in Miracles student that sometimes or sometime after the 9-year cycle I have just entered is complete, my higher self will transcend this body and enter a parallel life to continue my forgiveness lessons. Having done with the lessons in this one, I will fall asleep to this life and awaken in that other life, thinking that this one was a dream. She said this happens to many people, and that more of us will become aware of our parallel lives. Can Ananda speak about this? Thank you, Tina.
Oh, very
interesting question. Yeah.
Okay. So she is saying that she has completed a 9-year cycle now, and she will fall asleep, and this experience will feel like a dream.
Yeah, like her higher self will kind of shift to a parallel life, and then she will just wake up in that parallel life and think this one was a dream, and then continue her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I guess talking around it, there wasn't a clear question, but I guess what's the truth?
Parallel lives and
parallel lives and
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We're with you again, dear ones. We always love these conversations. It is our spiritual work, so we want to thank you for that, for coming together in this time and place so that we can use words to encourage you on your ascension process. Now, that is what this question is about. It is about the ascension process and what that actually is and how does it take place? Well, we want you to know that there is only one mind, and you are seemingly fractured aspects of that one mind. First of all, when we say that to most of you, there's a big question mark in your consciousness that says, what are you talking about? There is only one mind. And this is one of the reasons that we begin to teach using the language you know, using the concepts you know, using timelines that you understand, past, present, and future. Sometimes we will refer to past lives because that is the pattern, the paradigm within which you are working. And some of these higher concepts, we will call them, higher levels of consciousness. We have referred to there being many levels of consciousness, and we do want you to focus on the one you're in right now because that's where you're having quite a bit of trouble managing yourselves. We don't want you to get ahead of yourselves, and we would say that this probably falls into that category where multiple timelines do exist, but you are not designed to understand them. Multiple timelines do exist. And we have said before that your incarnational experiences, for example, are happening simultaneously, but you seem to have them, or you seem to fit them into your linear timeline understanding of reality. And so we will use words that you understand to explain things that do not transpire in that way at all, because it would be too much for you at your level of development to understand, and it will not facilitate your ascension. It will confuse you. And some of you, we will say in the group, have become quite obsessed with figuring out other levels of consciousness, other timelines, these kinds of things. And it can become an obsession of the egoic consciousness that says, I am not going to move forward with these lessons until I understand exactly what's happening. And that is very much like a kindergarten child saying, well, I am not going to learn to read until I can understand that book over there. You really are putting the cart before the horse. So there are forgiveness practices, all of your forgiveness practices, in fact. There are some larger ones, however, that will shift you into what we consider a different timeline. And that is because you are consciously stepping away from separation and attack. And that is really what your forgiveness practice does. Every time you feel the urge to attack and you choose not to, you feel the urge to judge and you choose not to, you are taking a higher path, and that higher path will take you on a different experience. So it does not just happen in 9-year intervals. It happens every single time you choose the miracle. Every single time you choose love over fear, you are shifting your potential future. So as you think about this from your current level of consciousness, this seems strange. Surely there is some destiny that I am meant to have. Well, yes and no. If you do not change your thinking, there is a path that you are likely to take. These are probabilities. So when you go and see a psychic, you are in fact dealing in probabilities. They will read your energy. They will read your current level of evolution. If they are a good psychic, not all psychics are good, but if they are a good one, they will read your current level of energy and what you're likely to do, and they will tap into a future self that is based on that probability. But if you are actively practicing forgiveness, and this is one of the reasons why A Course in Miracles is so powerful in waking you up, you are constantly and systematically and repeatedly refusing to choose the lower frequency. You are constantly and repeatedly and systematically choosing the higher frequency. So moment by moment, hour by hour, day by day, you are shifting your frequency, which is going to create a different future. So you are entering a new timeline. You are entering an alternative universe that is going to manifest completely different experiences. So for example, and this has been documented and entertained and spoken about in The Disappearance of the Universe. This text is a very, very good text for you to contemplate and to read. That there will be some confusing incidents sometimes. You might miss a train that you were trying to get, and you will think that it is just an inconvenience. But because you have done some forgiveness practice, you were not required to get on that train where perhaps there was going to be some altercation of some kind. Perhaps there was going to be an argument between the people on that carriage, and you perhaps would have been involved in it. But because for the last few weeks you've been doing your forgiveness practice with your sister or your brother or your mother or your boss or your co-workers, you have shifted your frequency, and now you do not require that experience, because your frequency is no longer in accord with judgment and attack, which that incident on the train would have reflected back to you. Remember, this is a reflective universe, so you are going to be reflected back to you. You're going to have reflected back to you the frequency of your consciousness. So when you practice forgiveness, you are constantly changing timelines. It is not done in anniversaries, as this particular conversation implies, but there will be very large forgiveness lessons that each of you choose to have at various times in your life. And these can be portrayed as big accidents, physical accidents, where you are taken out of your regular game, so to speak, and you really have to focus your mind and your practice on staying out of suffering and victimhood and doing the best you can with that experience. There may be a betrayal by a partner, for example. Perhaps somebody is unfaithful, or perhaps somebody is deceptive or lies or cheats in some way. And that can be a very, very difficult thing to forgive, but it is still your reflection. It is still somebody reflecting back to you a frequency that you are holding. And this is where the idea of projection is such an amazing, deceptive technique in and of itself, because it looks as if all the bad stuff is being caused to you by other people, but they are in fact reflecting back to you the lower frequencies that you are holding within your unconscious mind. Now, we say unconscious, it's not really unconscious. It can just be hidden from daylight. It can be hidden from other people. But most of you, when you do the lessons of A Course in Miracles, realize that there is quite a battle going on inside you, and there are a lot of fears that are being triggered and that cause you to lash out at people. There are many things that are going on within your consciousness, behind your social face, that once you begin to see them, you realize, yes, I am quite defensive, and consequently, I keep getting attacked. Yes, I am a little duplicitous in my motivations, and guess what? That is being reflected back to me. Somebody's cheating me. These are some of the ways that these things are reflected back to you. So we would say some of these big forgiveness practices will be big shifts in your future self. And so when these things happen to you, if you are a Course in Miracles student, what you want to do is do the very best you can to keep revisiting those big deceptions, those big betrayals, those big bad behaviors that other people seem to have perpetrated upon you, because they are reflective of where you were when that incident happened. And so as students of A Course in Miracles, you will say, that thing that happened 5 years ago or a month ago is still bothering me. Let me still pray for that person. Let me still ask to have my perception healed so that I can see the truth. Let me still keep working on it, because I know what is happening. I'm changing my future to a better future. I'm changing my future to a future without conflict, without combat, without betrayal, without deception, because I am aligning myself with love. I'm aligning myself with honesty. And I know that there are huge repercussions from me practicing forgiveness. This is why this being became able to communicate with us and with this material, because she systematically and repeatedly revisited seemingly unforgivable acts to her ego in that time and place would have said this is not forgivable. But bless her heart, she brought to play constant and repetitive prayers of asking and pleading and practice to have her mind transformed and to be completely and absolutely immersed in peace through these relentless techniques that she learned through studying A Course in Miracles. So that is what these timelines are. They are a different future that does not require you to be injured, confronted, hurt, attacked, because the reflection is no longer required, because you have dealt with it where it is generated, which is in the projector, which is your mind. You are cleaning your own mind up, and so the world does not need to reflect it back to you. The only reason time exists is to show you where you are unloving, to show you where you are confused, to show you where you are fearful. It is a gift. Once you do the work yourself voluntarily, systematically, and in a disciplined way, time is no longer required. And so this is what the miracle is. It is a time-shortening device which allows you to move through your incarnation much more swiftly, because you are not requiring these tough lessons to show you where you are unloving. And that is really the only thing that causes you trouble in your life, is the unawareness you have of the unloving nature of your own consciousness. So this is the gift you give yourself. When you forgive somebody else their trespass against you, you move your future self into a nicer world, and it will indeed be a completely different world eventually. That is what enlightenment is. You have no fears left. You have no judgments left. You have completely mastered your mind, and so you view everything with love. Even the most unpleasant things you see are a reflection of perhaps somebody else's consciousness. What happens when you become enlightened is that you are not as involved in the drama. You are above the battleground, and so you can see wars and starvation and sickness, and you bring love only to that. You do not bring judgment or fear to it. You bring only love. And of course, that is what Jesus did, and that is why he was able to demonstrate mastery over the physical body of himself and others. He was given that opportunity to demonstrate and teach. And trust us, when you heal somebody, it really gets their attention, and that is why he did that. He did not do it to show off. He did it because he wanted the people to hear the teaching, which is that if you forgive and love and align yourself with these higher frequencies, you don't need to suffer yourself. And that is the simple gift that these teachings bring you. The more loving you are internally and externally, the less suffering you have to endure. And eventually you will move on to another level of consciousness that has been precipitated by your forgiveness practice and your eventual mastery of the physical material world, generated by your mind and played out on a screen you call life. We will return shortly.
Awesome.
So it sounded like they're saying that it's not particularly anniversary based, but it can be event based.
Yeah, I mean, who knows when we start to really like let go of the grip we have on this world. I mean, then anything can happen, I guess. I mean, parallel lives, anything.
Well, I mean, the experience I'm having of channeling is a perfect example of something that you were not, I was not expecting this. I wasn't studying to get this. It was not my plan. So a miracle happened because of this systematic practice. And I think, honestly, it's better that you don't know what's coming, because I'm not sure. I'm not sure I would have been quite brave enough to keep on because I was very diligent with my practice. And I think I would have had some fears and hesitations if I'd known what was coming my way, quite honestly. I've got used to it. I've grown into it over the years. But if I'd known up front, I think this is why they don't tell us some very specific things sometimes, because we do grow into our destiny, if you will. And I think we just have to kind of do it on faith, which is, of course, none of us like doing things on faith. But I kept at it because I just kept feeling better and better, and that was worth it to me.
Yeah. That's kind of why I'm doing it too. And also, like, there was one forgiveness thing that I'm doing lately, which is just a random thing, like of barking dogs. That's been a thing of mine.
Oh, yes.
I'm not really afraid of them, but I think there is some fear there somewhere. And the place that I'm staying now, there's been like dogs barking at us every time we're coming up. Every day that we're coming there, they're barking. And then when we come up to them, I'm like, oh, it's okay. And then there was this random dog. And there was a friend of mine reminding me about forgiveness as well of that dog. And I was just like, okay. So then I started asking for help to change my perception of that dog. And the dog suddenly started barking. Instead of at me, it was like suddenly barking in midair. And suddenly it was just kind of going away. And after that point, every time we came home, the dogs were not barking anymore.
Interesting. That's a beautiful little experiment.
It's just tiny.
I think that's a great idea for people. It seems tiny, but it's distressing when you get barked at all the time. It agitates you, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So cool.
Oh, that's a neat thing. I think that's a wonderful story, because we can react to those negative things and think, oh, well, yeah, forgiveness isn't about that. It's about the big things, but it's the little things that anything that they say, there is no small upset.
Yeah, because we don't know what that dog represents. I mean, maybe things will open up in other areas that I didn't see before because of that little thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, and that was what they said with me when they said that I stepped out of my comfort zone when I went to Africa in December, and that helped facilitate the extraterrestrial communication.
Wow.
I didn't know that wasn't my intention. They said that was a side effect of stepping through fears and going out of my comfort zone. So I expanded somewhere else too. And so it's a really good, very good thing to try. Yeah.
Awesome.
Maybe even with mosquitoes and wasps and stuff like that.
I have some stuff there.
Well, I actually, I don't want to go on too much here, but I actually had an experience where somebody came and had just been stung by a wasp before a channeling, and Ananda channeled for them, and they said, it's because you keep attacking people. You got stung because you attack people. So it was part of their teaching, their learning experience. Yeah. So.
Interesting.
Okay, let's go to the next question.
Yep. The next one is from Eli, and he's just saying, at Jesus. This week, this week, while being at the zoo with my kids, there was a group of children aged 7 to 8 who intimidated and were being aggressive towards other kids. What struck me that most was the group being intimidated did nothing. They were just enjoying the zoo and watching the animals. As one boy said out loud while he was passing me, I didn't even do anything. What also frightened me was the amount of hatred I saw in the little boy's eyes while he was cursing at the other boy. The boy being attacked was older than those other kids, but I could still see he was very afraid and confused about what they did, why they did this to him. It hurt me also as because in my past I had similar situation of being intimidated. I got very angry and wanted to shut up the boy who threatened the other boy, but luckily the attendant of the group grabbed the boy and walked away. My question about how to react in these kind of aggressive situations, can you give examples of what to do? What did you do when people were attacking you? I want to be both loving towards the boy attacked and the boy being attacked. Can I, for instance, say something in that moment to the boy attacking that will reach his true self, causing him to stop attacking someone else? Thanks very much for teaching and love. For your teaching and love. Oh,
what a great question.
It's a good question.
Sounds like a Jesus-y kind of question, doesn't it?
It does.
Turning the other cheek and all that.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see what he has to say. Your experience at the zoo was for you. It was not for the children. Your forgiveness practice is about your past, your interaction with the bully. That is why you have such a strong reaction to that situation. That is why you suffer. You actually aren't suffering because of what you are witnessing in the present moment. You are suffering because of what you experienced in the past, and that is not yet forgiven. This seems as if it is not true, because you say, but these children are innocent. They are being attacked by somebody. I must do something. This is how projection happens. You have an unhealed part of your consciousness that believes in victimization and bullying, and you experienced it and created it, and you are still experiencing it and creating it, and you will begin to understand, as you come to understand how creative and how powerful your consciousness is, you will begin to understand that it is your forgiveness practice of the past bullying in your childhood that will prevent you from encountering experiences like this again. So when you see the world as an objective reality, when you see those beings as separate, individual, pre-existing entities that have nothing to do with you, this world makes no sense. But when you understand that any wound in your own psyche, any judgment, any fear that is not yet dealt with in your own history, it is forced to come up again and again so that you have the opportunity to forgive it. You can practice that forgiveness in a multifaceted way. That means you can say prayers for the bully. That means that you can, when you recollect this incident that happened in this relative recent past, you will say, that boy must have come from a very unloving place. He, for goodness sake, lives in a very unloving world. He probably watches violent television every day. He may be playing violent video games every day. The heroes of the blockbuster movies he loves kill people and bully people, and he is merely playing out the message that this society gives him. Is he guilty? No, he's not. He is only taught incorrect, unloving principles from a society that is a warmongering and violent society. So that is the first place to start your forgiveness practice, is in your own mind, knowing that any bully, any unloving activity comes from a consciousness that is out of alignment with love and suffers. When a being is hateful, they will reap the rewards of that bitter harvest. And so you can have compassion for that boy, the bully, the one that you don't want to love. You can begin to send him love. You can begin to see that he is only playing out the violence that every show he watched tells him will bring him something. It is a sad, sad situation indeed. So you can start your forgiveness practice there. You can then say, the one that is being bullied, the one that is playing the victim in this dualistic drama, is also contributing their frequency to this particular event. Perhaps that being has to develop some resilience. Perhaps their life lesson is to learn to speak up when they are in a difficult situation. Perhaps they have become too passive. Perhaps they are not in touch with their own ability to stand up for themselves. Now, we are not promoting attack, but there is a difference between being strong and weak. There is a difference between standing in your own energy and owning your own energy and being a doormat. And this is one of the places where the teachings that I brought through on the earth plane so many years ago were used to manipulate you, and you have been taught that it is the only way is to be passive. There is a difference between being wise and being passive, and that is what is being asked of you as the question asker. You are being asked to be wise and listen to these teachings and come to understand that there are no innocence in that sense. The perpetrator and the victim always do a dance together. There cannot be a victim without a perpetrator, and that is the nature of duality. And as long as you analyze the world from a dualistic point of view, it will not make sense and you will suffer. You will say the bullies win, the rats win the rat race. These people are victimized. They have nothing to do with it. They're children, they're innocents. And that is based on a dualistic view and the one life view. And this is something else that must be addressed in this conversation. The idea that you come with lessons to learn, you come with tendencies from other incarnations, you come with things that you have not yet mastered, and so you are incarnated once again so that you may have another opportunity to grow out of that particular limiting belief. So that is your lesson from this encounter, and it will not apply to everybody else because everybody else will not have been bullied as a child. But we want you to know that this question arose in your mind because it caused you pain based on your own experience as a child. So not only do you begin to view the world from a non-dualistic point of view, which means that you understand when there is a victim, there must be a perpetrator. That is the yin, the yang of it. That is the up, the down of it, the hot, the cold of it, the light, the dark of it. And that is what seems to be happening on this earth plane at this time. But these teachings tell you that when you begin to act as if there is only one energy, there is only love. It is either flowing or not flowing. It is either being received or not being received. Then you begin to ask, what feeling in me did the observation of this scene bring up? It brought up intense suffering in me. If there was no history, no past forgiveness to be indulged in on your part, this drama would not have played out in front of you. There were people at the zoo on that day that did not have the same experience that you did because they do not have that wound from the past. So it is a tripartite practice. You pray for the bully, you pray for the victim, and you pray for the bully in your past and the victim that you were, and you understand that that experience reflected your frequency at that time, and it showed you something that you needed to see about your frequency. And now you have the opportunity to keep that old resentment alive, or you have the opportunity to raise your internal frequency, which will raise the external experience frequency that you have when you are out and about. So we will say to you, use that external drama and the suffering that that drama caused you to go back in time and forgive that person that bullied you. So revisit that past experience, cut the ties to it, let it go. Don't tell that story anymore, internally or externally. Many of you revisit negative experiences over and over again, sharing those stories with people and allowing that wound to be fed with negative energy. So feed it with loving energy. Envision yourself not being bullied. Envision yourself resolving that conflict in your own past experience in a way that is reflective of the truth that there is only an act of love or a call for love. So you might envision yourself as a child sending love to that one that bullied you. You can do it now for sure. And you can begin to heal the mind that is creating those seemingly external real dramas. We do want you to know that when you come to your life review, you will be able to see these stories unfolding from your childhood. You will see that there were many times that you saw the victim and the perpetrator role played out in front of you, and it caused suffering. And it is to bring your attention to your own inner judger. It is to bring your attention to that wound within you. And we want all of you, not just the person that asked this question, to understand that if you keep suffering over the same things, you are being guided to look at it. Look at the way you are looking at it. So, for example, there are many of you that suffer deeply over the way that animals are treated in the society, and you keep looking at the negative. You keep looking at the way they're treated instead of focusing on helping animals, instead of focusing on having your own animals and loving them, or volunteering, or contributing in some way to rescue centers. You are constantly focused on the negative. You are constantly judging people who are eating meat. You are constantly judging hunters. You are constantly judging animal abusers, and you, in that judgment, are keeping your frequency low, and inadvertently you are keeping those unpleasant dramas alive because you are not bringing love to the situation. What we want you to do is look at that situation. If you feel suffering inside, ask yourself, why am I suffering? Oh, I am imagining how that animal feels, or how that person who is being abused feels. I am feeding the negative energy rather than saying, that's unacceptable. How can I help the world? That's unacceptable. How can I clarify my perception of this world? That's unacceptable. I don't like how that makes me feel. How can I assist abused children? How can I assist abused animals? Instead of dwelling on the abuse and the abuser and judging and hating and perpetuating separation, you use it as a pivot point to turn your attention to healing, to love, to assistance, to compassion, to kindness, to connection. Connect to the people you hate. This is why I taught you to love your enemies, because in loving your enemies, you add love to the situation. It literally will end wars. And that is what you were witnessing there. You were witnessing in that time and place a victim and a perpetrator playing out their roles. It triggered you and has now given you the opportunity to focus on your own forgiveness work. So this is what all conflict is for. Any drama that plays out in front of you or in your life is bringing you the opportunity to take a look inside and ask yourself, where have I done that? Where has that happened to me? Where have I not yet forgiven something like that in my own consciousness experience? Remember, this is a reflective world. It is with the wise mind that you look at the world and say, this is the ego's playground. This is where pain and fear and separation are projected. Let me not join in this drama. Let me not add my hatred to this soup. Let me add love to the mix. How can I do it? I go inside my own mind and I do the lessons of A Course in Miracles, because that is tuning my consciousness to a higher frequency. It is clarifying the projector that I am, and it will make new things happen. And that is really the ultimate healing practice. It is not saying something to the bully. It is not saying something to the victim. It can happen that you can say something to the perpetrator that is meaningful, and that will be being more loving. If you have the opportunity to talk to a bully, if you have the opportunity to interact with a bully, don't attack them, don't judge them, but take them aside and say, I can see that you're in pain. Is there something I can do to help you? You have no idea what that child experienced in their home that day. You have no idea how they're treated. You have no idea of the thousands of hours they have may have watched of violence or persecution on television. So don't be so sure that you know who the good guy and the bad guy is. Sometimes it is not what you think. And so pray for your enemies. Pray for that child that is the bully. Send them love in your heart and mind, and you will be doing the most influential thing that you can be doing. Remember, you've been taught that action is more powerful than thought, and it is not so. Action comes at the end of 1,000 thoughts. Action comes when you have entertained an idea for a very, very long time. So make sure that your action is coming from the contemplation of love and not the contemplation of revenge, because it will not work out and it will not add any love to the mix that is playing out in front of you. And there is a great deal of faith that is required on your part to listen to that answer. But go back and revisit your own bullying experience. Forgive that, work on that. and you will find that you will experience this kind of experience much less frequently. But sometimes these are great challenges for the ego consciousness. It does not want to forgive. Why does it not want to forgive? It does not want to forgive because it feels safer when separation is at play. Remember, this is a place of separation. Loving and forgiving actions are counter to the very energy that created this place. This place was created by a consciousness that decided to step into separation. And so when you begin to love, when you begin to pray for your enemies, when you begin to forgive, you really are counter to the very thing that initiated your experience here. It is not your nature in the separated state to forgive. It is not your nature in the separated state to commune and share. These are aspects of spirit speaking through you when you love, when you share, when you commune, when you forgive. And there is really a split mind at play. So choose the good side, choose the white side, choose the gentle side in this dialogue with your own consciousness, for that is where this drama is playing out now. The event is over. It is only playing out now in your consciousness. And if it is causing you repeated suffering over and over again, nobody is doing it to you except you by revisiting it over and over again. So let it go. Forgive the bully, forgive the victim, understand that they are playing their own game of victim and perpetrator, and go to where the real source of the issue is, which is in your past, the unforgiveness in your past.
Cool. Really enjoyed that. I've actually seen, I don't know if you've done this, Tina, but I've actually seen a bully in the making, almost like I've seen a teenager, and I've seen in a family like how he, you know, this particular thing in my, it was a he, watched a lot of violence. There was, he didn't feel good enough, kind of a thing. So he felt the need to put that on other people, to push people down, because then he felt good enough. So it's a lot of stuff like that. That's very interesting to, I'm very grateful that I got to see a lot of that, because that just got me into a kind of a bully mentality to see how that's being created. At least one part of it.
And it was, you know, I've experienced it so many times where I might meet someone that I've had an issue with, and I feel the distress in me, or the, I don't want to talk to them, or that feeling of suffering that comes when you encounter someone that you've got some forgiveness work to do with. And I just see how the Course has taught me to turn it around and go, this has got nothing to do with them. They're just the triggering, they're the catalyst for me feeling a pain that's already in me. And it becomes so powerfully obvious once you practice and practice and practice. And that's when you really grow so quickly, when you really begin to see the world is not an objective reality. It's showing me things I need to work on. And it does get confusing, because we do have to act in the world. We do have to make decisions. We do have to work with people or not work with people, or live with people or not live with people, or share or not share. We have so many decisions to make. But over time, it becomes clearer and clearer, and you can see, this is really a tender spot in me, and it keeps coming up. And that person, guess what? That person keeps showing up until you do the work, and then lo and behold, you don't meet them anymore, and you think, what planet did they go to? But it's because you actually did the work. It's very cool. I mean, I just love the process of forgiveness. It just makes everything so much better. And even when problems arise, they arise all the time in my mind. But I say it's going down the rabbit hole, where I don't go into the story of they're this, they're that. I turn it around very quickly and say, okay, why am I afraid? Am I being threatened? Do I feel insecure? Is this from my childhood? Is this a familiar feeling? And you can work through things very, very quickly once you really kind of master that, turning it around as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
But I thought that was a beautiful example of someone seeing their own drama played out again in front of them. so that they have an opportunity to heal that wound.
Yeah.
Because it looks like it's so bad, but actually, if you think it's a loving universe showing you where your pain is. You know, it's kind of beautiful.
It is very beautiful, and what I also have enjoyed or realized last couple, I just kind of realized, you know, you realize it and then you realize something, that you can ask spirit for help. It's like, it's so insane. We talked a little bit about that before we started. Like, you can ask help from spirit and they just help you. But if you ask for a house, spirit knows that that's not going to make you happy, so they will not really, you know, they will kind of give it to you, but it's more, you have to mentally kind of do a little bit more work, I think. But with mental stuff, it's like instant. They can just instantly shift something. Yeah.
Well, it's that, you know, like they say, our default mode is separation. So we often create our own suffering by our normal thinking process. When you learn through that you can ask for help, and you see how quickly, oh, it's been removed because I stopped doing what I normally do.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, it's me. Oh,
it's me.
It's me. You know, it's me.
I did it all wrong.
But then the next time you do it again, and you're like, it's them. Oh no, it's me. It's kind of hard at first because when you realize everything's you, and you're like, really? But it does get easier and it does get less frequent. I guarantee that if you do the practice, the upsets become much further apart. And that was the thing. I think that's something I like to mention once in a while to the people who are in the early stages of doing the course, a year or 2 or 3 in, and they're like, oh, there's so much to forgive. But if you just do your forgiveness work today and tomorrow, but don't think about tomorrow today. Just do what's upset you today, and look at the opportunities that the universe is bringing you, because that's the other thing I see, is that I've been given so many opportunities to step into new environments over the years that I've done the course. And in each environment, I learned something new. So I've had really unusual opportunities come my way. Even before I channeled, I had no idea why I was getting these really amazing opportunities, but they would take me into a new area where a whole bunch of new learning took place. Whether it was, you know, for example, you know, it can be unemployment, or it can be living in a remote location, or it can be being offered a job in another country, and you think, I'm going to take it, but all these new learnings come up. So it's a never-ending journey into expansion, and I've just found the course helps with every level of it, you know. And I mean, I do repeat myself, I know, but I just encourage everybody to keep plugging away, and if you get overwhelmed, have a nap. That's all. If I can't do anything else, if I'm tired and I can't do anymore, have a nap, and everything will look a bit clearer.
Yeah, amen. The course is priceless, I have to say.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got time for one more question.
Yeah.
It goes so fast.
Yeah, it does. They give elaborate answers. So this is from a person that's just family finds fun. That's their name. Is it true that extraterrestrial beings changed the human DNA a few times during the years of the past, and that we were created to be a slave race? That's the question.
Very good.
Yep. Interesting.
Okay, I'll Ananda answer. We're with you again, dear ones. These questions are the juicy questions of your time and place, and this is a very, very exciting time and place for your planet. Your powerlessness comes from the way you have been taught. Your ignorance comes from the way you have been taught. Your fears come from the way you have been taught. And these teachings are revealing to you, slowly but surely, the reasons that you believe you're powerless, the reasons that you have been indoctrinated into incorrect beliefs and ideas, and how those incorrect indoctrinations cause your fears, cause your limited thinking, cause your dependencies or seeming dependencies on things. So one of the untrue ideas that has been perpetuated and strengthened and is continually reinforced, is the fact that you are alone in the universe, the fact that there are billions and billions of stars and planets, trillions and trillions of moons and objects and celestial things in the sky, and lo and behold, this planet is the only one that has anything of interest on it. Well, that is not so, and that is a lie that has been taught to your society for many, many generations. You have a long and illustrious history that you know nothing about. And so in our new book that has been channeled through this being, we go into many of those details for you so that you can have a comprehensive and in-depth study, if you will, of some of these aspects. Now, the book does not go into intricate discussions of the particulars of beings that have connected with your planet. There are many, many beings on your planet at this time that are writing about that. But we want you to know that you are not alone. We want you to know that there are many, we will say, there have been many interferences in your evolution, your physical evolution, and that, yes, there are beings that have worked with the development of your species. And the huge variety that you see in your species is part of that genetic playground, we will say. It is only in the fearful mind, it is only in the limited mind, it is only in the materialistic mind that this is such a threat. In the open mind, in the educated mind, in the higher frequency mind, this is not a threat, it is a logical aspect of your history. It is an understanding that is not so bad. So we have, through the writing of these books, and we will say this to any of you that are new to this group, the first book was written first for a reason. The second book was written second for a reason. And you know what we are going to say next. The third book was written third for a reason. These are building blocks. These are books that are introducing ideas one after the other for a purpose. We did not channel these books in the order in which they were channeled randomly. And so the subject of extraterrestrials and some of the interactions that they've had with your planet are covered in the sixth book. And we would like you to, if you are new to this group, to not dive into reading the sixth book first, because the first to fifth book have been presented in that order, as we say, for a reason, to shift beliefs and ideas, to move your frequency up, to expand your consciousness, to allow your mind time to entertain ideas that it has been trained out of, to give your consciousness room to get used to certain ideas that underlie other ideas. So the genetic history of your planet is not what you have been taught. There are many, many aspects of your current experience that are hidden from you, that you will be having revealed to you as the frequency of your planet increases. Why will they be revealed as the frequency of your planet increases? Well, deception, lying, cheating, manipulation are low frequency activities, and your planet is shifting out of her willingness to participate in those frequencies. So yes, your planet is a conscious being. Your sun is a conscious being. All of the celestial bodies that you have just been taught are rocks in the sky, have a consciousness that is very, very powerful and very, very influential. So there is much more going on in many levels of your experience than you have been told. And that is why it is so important to transform your mind with guidance. You cannot be left unsupervised with a strong ego, with a fearful mind, with an ill-advised mind. This is why we say to all of you, do the lessons of A Course in Miracles, because these are techniques and lessons and principles that are going to support the ascension and revelation process that your society is undergoing. So this is not all going to happen in 1 week. This is not all going to happen in 1 year. There is a systematic and planned revelation, and we mean revelation in the sense of revealing to you the truth of your divine nature, the long history of your planet, the abilities that you can develop by expanding your consciousness and elevating your frequency. That is all you, as we have said before, that is all you are witnessing in our dear one. Somebody who has raised her frequency up and has developed a new talent. All of you have the ability to commune in a direct conscious contact way with your guides and teachers as well. But you have been trained out of it. You've been trained into materialism, into judgment, into fear. And some of the systems of your planet have known how to manipulate your consciousness, and so have led you very merrily down the path of fear and judgment and war, so that you do not empower yourself, so that you do not stand up and be counted, so that you are easily controlled and manipulated and deceived. So it is a chicken and egg thing. You think that you are a victim of these deceptions, but you have merely allowed yourself to be led down the path into lower frequencies. But you have chosen, every time you turn your television on, you use your free will to tune into a lower frequency realm, but you deny it. It doesn't matter whether you deny it. You still use your free will to say, I'm going to see what's on the news tonight. And you turn it on and you see disaster and terror and fighting and manipulation and horrible conversations. And you begin to feel bad, but who turned that television on? You did. Why? Because you have been taught that you will learn something in the news. You've been taught that well-informed people watch the news. You have been indoctrinated into believing that the news will benefit you somehow, but it doesn't. But you have been taught to use your free will to turn that television on, believing that it's in your best interest. But it is not, but you still chose to do it. And that is how the manipulation of your consciousness has taken place. You are the chooser. You are the one that is deciding what you eat, what you say, what you observe, what you judge, what you love, what you hate. Every moment of every day, you are the decider. But you are deciding on inaccurate information, and so you use your free will inadvertently against yourself. So we are teaching you and encouraging you and instructing you how to align yourself with love, so that you use your free will, your focus, your intense creative abilities for good, for love, for raising your frequency, so that you can experience that connection to divine creative power that is your natural inheritance. So we are using as much as we can, as much will as we can, but we cannot do it for you. All we can do is repeat ourselves and guide you and ask you to make certain choices. But in the end, our programming, our conditioning of you is less powerful than what your society has inflicted upon you. So there is a part of you that keeps choosing what you've been taught by the negative influence, that keeps choosing that until you begin to realize, when I don't watch television, I feel better. When I don't watch television, I am tuning into nicer feeling thoughts and ideas. When I don't watch television, I am more communicative with other humans. I am going to stop turning it on. It is not until you have enough of an experience with these new ideas and the consequent new behaviors that you begin to have a different feeling, and you can attribute it to what we are teaching you. So that is all we are asking you to do here. We're asking you to give love a chance. We're asking you to turn your televisions off. We're asking you to stop watching violence and war. We're asking you to judge less and less. And as you do that, you will begin to see the experience you are having will begin to change, and you will say, ah, isn't that interesting? I feel better. I'm having more contact with nice people. I'm finding it easier to be around my family. I'm earning a little bit more money. Isn't that interesting? I'm not as fearful. These are the consequences of these teachings. They will create a new frequency that is what the Course calls the happy dream. That means that you are still in the illusion. You are still living in a physical body, but you are not suffering unnecessarily because of all the fears and judgments and hatreds in your mind that you are currently feeding. So watch where you are feeding those negative feelings. Watch where you are choosing the lower frequency choice, and do as well as you can where you are at to make that higher frequency choice. It may be forgiving the small trespass that somebody committed against you. Perhaps they left you hanging on a date. Perhaps they didn't do what they said they were going to do. Perhaps you've learned of a deception that they have perpetrated against you. Forgive those small things and allow your forgiveness to bathe your world with love, for that is what you are doing. You are not doing it for anybody else. You're doing it for yourself, knowing that you are going to benefit from it. But understand that love is love, and when you offer love to another, you offer it to yourself. What you sow, you will reap the harvest of, and that is the law of creation that is at play on this plane. We are Ananda. We are so pleased that you have joined us, and we want you to know that we can assist you very, very easily if we are asked. We are beings of high frequency. That means we will not impinge upon you. We will only come when you call. So please do ask us to help you if you need help, and know that the help may not come in the way that you are expecting. It may come in an unexpected or unrecognized way. So do not think that we don't listen. We do, but we may bring you an opportunity in your day after you have asked us for help that you do not recognize as help yet, but it will turn into help. Perhaps somebody next to you at the coffee shop talks to you or offers you something, and you say no. That being may have been the being that we sent to you to help you with the issue that you have. So be aware when you turn the universe down. Be aware when your defensiveness pushes new opportunities away. Be aware when you refuse to speak to somebody who is trying to strike up a conversation with you. They may have the help that you have just asked for. So we are Ananda. We love these conversations, as we say each time, but we want to remind you that we have our spiritual homework as well, and it is helping humanity. It is helping to help all of you on your ascension process. And we look forward to the many conversations that we have with you in your dream time, that we have with you in your consciousness, awake and asleep. And we will speak to you again soon.
Nice. I just wanted to say, as Denise is saying on the chat, that she's saying, thank you, my question is always answered without even writing in. And that's kind of the thing, when you have an intention and you have something on your mind and you're coming to a gathering like this where Tina is channeling, they're slipping in information all the time for all these things that we're wanting to hear. So
yeah,
please remember.
And I think that's why some of their answers are so long, because they are going, and Jim wants to know this, and Bob wants to know that, and Susie wants to know that, so they can incorporate it into the very, very long and rambling answers.
Exactly. I heard your voice was kind of going there.
Yeah, I was just it was just I think I was choking on my own spit. It was nothing serious.
Okay. There's some thoughts or questions about your new book. Do you have any more information about that you want to say?
I don't. I am going to be contacting my publisher very soon. So I did ask her in my last email, and I didn't get an answer. So I keep asking, because I say there's lots of people waiting. So it should be soon. It should be soon. It's all edited, and I think there is always a sort of month or 6 weeks between the final edit, printing, and getting it into the warehouses. I guess there's a physical process that has to take place.
But it's all
I will
delivered.
nag her.
Yeah, so
I will nag her on your behalf. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's a beautiful book. I was not happy about the subject matter when they first told me. that it was about the Holocaust in Nazi Germany, I thought, oh, yay, thank you very much. But they dealt with it beautifully, and they told me that I would need a year to come to terms with the subject. So I didn't push myself at first. I could feel that it was really challenging my conditioning. I grew up in post-war England, where there was lots of movies and documentaries about the Nazis and Auschwitz, and I found it challenging. So I think that's one of the reasons why they have asked people in this particular book to really be as diligent as they can to read the other books, because even though I was channeling and I was going through a lot, I've gone through a lot of, transformation of mind, that subject really kind of pushed a few buttons in me. So I think it's a challenging one for everybody. So yeah, if you're waiting for this book number 6 and you haven't read some of the others, read the others and prepare yourself.
I have to just
It's a beautiful dissertation, though. You've read it. Yeah.
Yeah, I've read it. It's amazing. It's just such a good book. I mean, like all of Tina's books, they're amazing, and they challenge even more stuff in us. It's it's great.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in today, and we'll see you again soon. I think actually we might have some new videos that might be on the web store soon, eh, Ken?
Yeah, I hope so. It's not ready as of yet, but they're on their way, I guess.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you, Ken, for joining me today, and thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.